when the chair puts in a time.
She was at 5:45.
That's okay, we're all live.
Sorry, Joe, did you say 5:20?
We're all live.
We're ready.
Ready when you are.
Brian said 5:15.
Good evening. I declare the meeting open. I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands of the Cubby Cubby people, and I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. I note that everyone is in attendance. Do I have a mover for the confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 15th of October?
I'll move it, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And a seconder?
Yep.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Finzel. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3, there are no mayoral minutes. Item 4, petitions. I have a petition to present signed by 2,411 people requesting that Council cancel the Satanic Black Mass scheduled for the 30th of October. I know this is obviously gone by, but it was important to acknowledge this petition. I move that this be received and referred to the Chief Executive Officer to determine the appropriate action. Do I have a seconder? Thank you.
If you stand, you will.
All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Any other petitions? Councillor Finzel.
Good evening. I have a petition to present this evening undersigned by 193 residents of Bushlands and Dunella estates who want and need another exit besides the two into the congested Beckmans Road. This petition seeks to build a short 150 metre two-way or even one-way outbound road between the wide Bushlands Drive through the northeastern side of the Bushlands Park beside the businesses to join Gateway Drive opposite the trades entrance of Bunnings. As councillors will know, during the council and state elections, the road outside the polling booths becomes very congested, and especially during school times. Council has successfully built roads over low areas like McKinnon Drive, past Yellowwood Close and Butler Street, joining McKinnon Drive to Poinciana Avenue. This section of road joining Bushlands to Gateway is shorter and, with fill and drainage pipes, should be successful in providing an alternative exit. Lastly, residents want and may need a quick, accessible exit when needing to evacuate in the bushfire season. Thank you.
I think moving that it be referred to the CEO.
I'll second that.
Yes, thank you. All in favour? Referred to the CEO? Unanimous. Thank you, Councillor Finzel. Councillor Lowry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I have a petition, a 58 signature petition regarding the Treehouse and Lowry Park at the intersection of Paldea Rise and Juniper Court, Peregian Beach. The undersigned support the retention of the Treehouse built in Lowry Park at the intersection of Paldea Rise and Juniper Court, and urge the leaders of Noosa Council to allow the Treehouse to remain. The Treehouse was built under adult supervision and assistance and is used by many local children and is therefore of benefit to the community. I ask that this be received and referred to the Chief Executive Officer to determine the appropriate action, please.
I love a good Treehouse.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Any other petitions? No? There are no notified motions, there are no presentations, and there are no deputations. This brings us to item 8, which is the consideration of the committee reports. First up are the Audit Committee recommendations from the meeting on the 23rd of October 2020. This is on page 4.
Councillor, just before you move and second this one, I would just highlight that this is the last committee report or Audit Committee report we're getting from Mr. Scott Williams. Scott has been the chair of the Audit Committee for 6 years and has done an incredibly terrific job for those councillors who've been on the Audit Committee and seen Scott in action. It's a joy to behold how he chairs the committee and keeps the focus on managing council's risk. He's done it, I won't say on a volunteer basis, there is a small stipend that goes with that, but essentially he has done it on a volunteer basis given his skills and experience, and I think the council should acknowledge his great work over the last few years.
Thank you, Mr. CEO.
I concur with those thoughts, Mr. CEO, and I'd like to add the ability of Scott to keep a meeting to time precisely and for a meeting to conclude on time has just been a highlight of being involved in that committee over time, let alone the matters that we've dealt with over that time. Scott has been a great a great chair to work under, and I'd like to also acknowledge the time that I spent on that committee under his chairmanship.
Thank you, Councillor.
I'll move that with an amendment to add a second clause, which says the council passes on its appreciation and acknowledgement for the efforts of Mr. Scott, and I just forgot his name, Williams, as chair of this committee over the last 6 years.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Would you like to speak to that motion?
I think that's just
I vote on that. Yeah, I had a big speech through.
All right, we're looking at the recommendations on page 4, the Queensland Audit Office 2020 closing report, the 2019.
I think they just covered that, didn't they? That was the effect of what your...
That was the essence of the entire report.
I think Councillor Stockwell had moved the
thank you,
with that addition. Yeah.
So all are done.
Yep.
So Planning and Environment Committee recommendations are on page 5. Item 1 is the request to change an existing approval for prescribed tidal works, Jetty at 21 Wesley Court, Noosa Heads. Item 2 was referred to the General Committee. Item 3 was referred to the General Committee. Item 4, planning applications decided by Delegated Authority for September 2020. At the General Committee meeting, I made a declaration in regard to this matter due to my friendship with Jackson Taylor. I have since learned that Jackson Taylor is not related to the entity Belmondo's Pty Ltd. It is his brother Ryan Taylor, who I do not know, so I no longer need to make a declaration in this regard. Councillor Lumsden.
I think Councillor Wigners.
Yeah.
Councillor Wigners.
Sum up. I, Councillor Wagner, inform the meeting that I have a declarable conflict of interest in this matter in relation to the application by Sunshine Butterflies, as on 23rd of October 2020, I provided them with a donation of surfboard making equipment valued at approximately $1,200. Although I have declared a conflict of interest, I do not believe a reasonable person could have a perception of bias because I do not have any other association with that organization, and the decision that Council is being asked to make in regard to this application is not to approve or reject it. It is only to note the decision that has already been made by the Council staff. Therefore, I will choose to remain in the meeting room. However, I will respect the decision of the meeting on whether I can remain and participate.
I, Councillor Lawrenson, inform the meeting that I have a declarable conflict of interest in this matter in relation to the applications by Tea Tree Property Proprietary Limited and Belmondo's Proprietary Limited. I have a personal relationship with the Director of Tea Tree Property, Mark Bain, and the Bain family. The Bain family are friends of mine, and we have attended social events together. Our children attended school together, and they served together as part of the Noosa Board Riders Club. During the 2020 election campaign, Mr. Bain appeared in one of my campaign videos and agreed to one of my election signs being placed at the petrol station located on Gympie Terrace, of which Mr. Bain was the property landlord. In relation to the application by Belmondo's Proprietary Limited during the 2020 election campaign, Ryan Taylor, whose family owns Belmondo's, agreed to my election material being displayed at their business, Cafe Le Monde. Although Mr. Taylor is not a personal friend of mine, I know him through our involvement with the Noosa Board Riders Clubs. As a result of my conflict of interest, I will now leave the meeting room while the matter is considered and voted on.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrenson. I'll move the motion that Council note the declarable conflict of interest by Councillor Wagner and determine that it is in the public interest that Councillor Wagner participates and votes on this matter because Council believes that Councillor Wagner does not have a close association with Sunshine Butterflies, and given Council is not required to approve or reject the application, only noted, a reasonable person would trust that the final decision is made in the public interest.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you.
That was about Councillor Wagner.
Yes.
So we haven't dealt with
We haven't dealt with the issue yet.
Yes, we haven't dealt with.
Oh, the actual
Yes.
Sorry.
I was getting a bit excited.
Let him have holidays.
Yeah, no more holidays.
Right, do I have a anyone to move the original motion?
I just a point I'd like to raise, Madam Chair, that it reads before us that the council note the report by the manger.
Oh, thank you, Councillor. Would you like to move that motion,
I
Councillor
do.
Wood?
I would
Thank
like
you,
to move
Councillor
that
Wood.
motion. Thank you.
I'll second.
All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. And Councillor Lawrenston?
Yeah,
return
this
to the
time,
room?
this time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Not like you to get it wrong.
He's just trying to get the meeting to finish on.
Page 6, and we're at item 5. The Environment and Sustainable Development Department update, first quarter 2020-2021. Item 6 was referred to the General Committee. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the adoption?
I'll move to.
Thank you, Councillor Stockwell. Thank you, Councillor Wagner. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Next are the Services and Organisation Committee recommendations. These begin on page 8 of the agenda. Item 1, Regional Waste Treatment Feasibility Studies Update. Item 2, Noosa River Holiday Park Proposed Interim Management Agreement. Item 3, Proposed New Commercial Lease of Council Land at 4 Jarrah Street, Cooroy. Item 4 was referred to the General Committee. Item 5, Corporate Services Department Update, first quarter 2020-21. Item 6, Community Services Department Update, first quarter 2020-21. Item 7 was referred to the General Committee. Item 8, Executive Services Department Update, first quarter 2020-2021. Item 9, Operational Plan Progress Report, first quarter 2020-2021.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Wiki. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Next are the General Committee recommendations. These are on page 10 of the agenda. Item 1, request to change an existing approval for multiple housing type 3 retirement and special needs, commercial business type 2 medical, and reconfiguring a lot 1 into 2 lots at Grasstree Court and Ben Lexcen Drive, Sunrise Beach. Item 2 on page 16, Planning and Environment Court Appeal number D67 of 2020, refusal of an application for a bar at 5 Taylor Court, Cooroy. Item 3 on page 18, Planning and Environment Court Appeal number D144 of 2019, application for building works at 54 Seaview Terrace, Sunshine Beach. Item 4, Local Government Governance Reform.
I'd like to move a motion. Local government governance reform. That Council note the report by the Chief Executive Officer to the Services and Organisation Committee meeting dated 10th of November 2020 regarding local government governance report reform, and A, adopt the updated Council Code of Conduct prescribed by the Department of Local Government, Racing and Multicultural Affairs dated 4th of August 2020, provided at attachment 1 to the report, and repeal the previous Council Code of Conduct, which was adopted by Council in December 2018, and further agree that each Council will sign a declaration to abide by the new Council Code of Conduct at all times. B, adopt the updated standing orders for Council meetings, provided attachment 2 to the report, and repeal the previous standing orders which were adopted in by Council in August 2019. C, repeal the model meeting procedures adopted by Council on 20 December 2018, and note that the new model meeting procedures provided at attachment 3 to the report have been incorporated into Council's standing orders for Council meetings. D, adopt the updated investigation policy provided at attachment 4 to the report, and repeal the previous investigation policy which was adopted by Council in December 2018. E, adopt the councillor briefing sessions and workshops, non-statutory meetings, policy provided at attachment 5 to the report. And F, request the CEO to provide a report to a future council meeting outlining options to continue to improve council transparency, with a particular focus on council briefing sessions and workshops.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Wiki. Councillor Austin, would you like to speak to the motion?
I've made an amendment to continue the conversation and commitment we made at Tuesday's general meeting to look at options and ways to improve council transparency by requesting that the CEO provide a report to council to a future council meeting. It's important that both councillors and the public be given the opportunity to be made aware of issues of significance to our community. We work in an environment of public accountability. We make decisions on behalf of our community. It's therefore only right that information arising at or from workshops and briefing sessions be made available to the public unless there are compelling reasons why they are not in the public interest. Councillors and staff, we both have the duty to inform and consult the community with council business. It's our job. It's also our commitment, in line with good governance, to be more transparent and open. I'm proud that I sit at a table with like-minded people who understand the importance of transparency in helping to build and maintain public trust and integrity in local government.
Thank you, Councillor. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion?
I will speak. I'll first make a suggestion to the mover and seconder that in B, there is an additional word that's not needed. It should read, in my opinion, the previous standing orders which were adopted by council in August. I think the in is, yeah, I think that. I think the approach proposed in F is the right way to go. I think if we are keen to look at further ways to get transparency, it's a deliberative process where we come to a combined decision based on information provided by our staff. I do think it'll be an interesting process of what may be a report or any information go to the public from workshops like the one we had today on the cycle strategy. There was only about 15 different views, and and the only outcome was that staff realised they probably need to come back for another workshop to try and get less views around the table. So I support the approach of doing this in a deliberate fashion.
Yeah, look, I wholeheartedly support this motion with the change brought by Councillor Lawrenson. I'd also like to commend Councillor Lawrenson for the way she's brought this change in, as she acknowledged, in her speech, she did acknowledge the ongoing commitment to transparency of this council. It's something we all pride ourselves on, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of the report from the CEO, so we can all work together on these improvements. And I concur with your comments, and I commend you for them.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Yeah, I would like to comment that I'm appreciative of how this has been brought to the table for further discussion in promotion of excellence in our staff and in the council, and how we communicate transparent and responsiveness back to our community. So I recommend and concur with this. What is it? Amendment.
Motion.
Thank you.
Motion.
Motion.
Anyone else like to speak? All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, Kath. I'm sorry. Do you want those? No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Too late. Next.
Item 5 on page 22. Infrastructure Services Department update, first quarter 2020-21. I note that there were conflict of interest raised during this item at Monday's General Committee meeting due to discussions about Park Road temporary pathway. As the report doesn't actually mention the pathway, there is no need to make any declarations at this time. Is this correct, Mr. CEO?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, the issue came up in passing almost on Monday's General Committee when one councillor raised a question and just general comment about this issue, and the councillors did the right thing at the time by declaring a conflict. But that actual item wasn't part of the report. So if you're just dealing with the report now, there's no need to make those declarations.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to item 6 on page 22. Noosa Council's 20.
Sorry, point of order, Madam Chair. Given that to the CEO, given that the minutes or the agenda item here declares those conflicts of interest, is there an element of clarity that we may need to add into the minutes here as to why they're not being declared again?
Yeah, perhaps that's a good question, and to some extent having these meetings recorded and being on the record in that way is a good way. Very similar to what Councillor Stewart did earlier, to identify why she made a declaration at the original meeting but wasn't doing it tonight because she had more information that she didn't have a conflict. So similar thing, the fact that we provided advice in an open meeting, which is recorded for posterity, to explain why that was the case. may be sufficient. The other way is to have a look at how we deal with that in the minutes recording. But at the moment, you know, what we've got here before us at the moment is an agenda, not the minutes. It's the minutes of what occurred on Monday, and the reason why that declaration was made was because that question was asked.
So in the interest of transparency and for clarity, could a note be added at the end of these minutes to explain the reasons why those declarations weren't made again? Or is there a need?
I don't know necessarily there's a need for that.
Sorry, just confirm. Thank you.
I just had a question. Given the Mayor's comments were explanatory in themselves about the reason why the declaration was not needed to be made again, that would be what appears in the minutes, would it not?
No.
No, not as such. We normally wouldn't record why someone doesn't make a declaration. So, for example, you had an item before you and you had thought about whether or not you wanted to make a declaration, you know, and someone said, oh, well, look, I just had considered it. This is the reason I'm not going to make it. We wouldn't record that. I mean, as I said, if there was ever an issue arose in the future, whether it's Office of the Independent Assessor was doing investigation of this complaint, well, we could say, well, this actually occurred. If you look at the video recording, but what we don't do at this council and virtually everything, we don't take a transcript. It's not like a Hansard type approach which you have in Parliament. Otherwise, you know, some of the meetings would be 40 pages long or whatever it might be. So it's just a matter of making that public statement. I think that would be sufficient in this case.
Just one of my speeches.
Further to that then, Mr. CEO, would it be pertinent to perhaps look at our procedures in the future as to how we may add a note or something along those lines in this regard?
Sure, happy to look at that. No problem.
Thank you. Just for clarity, so.
Any more questions? No? Okay. So item 6, Noosa Council's 2019-20 annual report. Item 7 is the financial performance report, October 2020.
I'll move the resolution.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkie.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Christchurch. All in favour? Thank you. Unanimous, thanks. If we go back to the ordinary meeting on agenda on page 23, item 9. There are no reports direct to the ordinary meeting. There are no confidential items. There are no questions submitted for public question time. The next meeting, which will be the final for the year, will be held on Thursday, the 17th of December 2020. Thank you. I declare the meeting closed at 5:23 p.m.
Councillors, just before we've obviously closed the meeting, one of the issues, while we've still got the live stream going, the decisions tonight was the adoption of the updated Code of Conduct, and part of that decision was each councillor would sign off an acknowledgement of the Code of Conduct. What we might do is do that now while we're all together and fresh in the mind. So I'll pass around each of the codes of conduct with your name on it. I might get you to sign up. Councillor Wegner.
Tell me to bring a pen.
Would you like
You
one?
can borrow.
How many would you like, Ryan? Have you got your hand sanitizer? I've got COVID. No COVID safe pens here.
I've got a spare pen, Brett.
It'd be great for you all to sign up and just acknowledge your obligations under the Code of Conduct.
So it's just
in
a
accordance with the
signature,
decision.
no name.
No, just a signature. I've got your name on there already. So,
Thank you, Mr.
and we'll get you a
CEO.
copy of those, and I'll countersign them for you as well.
Would you like me to pass that up? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hang on, Brian.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.